Hello, and welcome to the Metaphysical Life podcast, where we talk about all things relating to body, mind, and spirit. I am your host, Nicole Kaye, and today I have a wonderful woman online with me. Her name is Peggy MacGregor. I'm going to let her share what she does and who she is. So I'm just going to hand it over to her so she can introduce herself.
Hi, Nicole. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
When it's always a question when someone says like to introduce you, what do you do, or who are you, or what, so, or how to define yourself. I'm many things. I wear many hats. What I like to think of myself as, I'm a strong woman. I'm 46. I'm a professional industry. I have worn many hats in my career. I'm a mom, I'm a grandmother, I'm a wife to the same handsome man for 30 years. I'm an eldest daughter. But I've been self-employed my whole life, and pretty high-strung, pretty conservative, and had some life-changing stuff that popped up, and probably more so the last 5 years, which kind of gave me a little bit of a different perspective on life, and where I met you, and then and kind of shook me up a little bit, and so I've met a whole different tribe of wonderful women, and I'd love to share all about that stuff.
Perfect. So how about share maybe what has happened in the last 5 years to sort of change your thought process, I guess?
Sure. So I've always been self-employed and pretty self-sufficient, and had life happen around me, and still have to pursue. You still got to make money, still got to make your life happen. You still have to keep your family going. My mom became very ill very young, 40, she was in her 40s when she developed type 2 diabetes and some lifestyle related stuff. But when she was 58, so 5 years ago, she developed non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. She was an at-home mom. She was, always taken care of. My father was the moneymaker, all of that. I'm the eldest daughter. And I then became her advocate for her health because, well, you only get treated how you allow yourself to be treated. So that was a role that I took on because I don't delegate tasks well either. And old me. Need to be in charge, need to make sure everything was done right. And I was self-employed, so I also had the means to be able to take time off to do all that stuff. So that changed my life 5 years ago. That was a big priority. That was one thing that happened. And then my own health kind of had a turmoil in it. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed completely accidentally with really severe celiac disease, which I apparently have had for 20 years and didn't know. And I changed careers about 8 years ago. So it was kind of a progression in things. And so 3 years ago, when I had the health transition, I'm a knowledge freak. So I had to kind of absorb everything that I could about autoimmune disease and everything that went with it. And I was also, just before that, starting to do my own soul searching and was starting to read books like The Secret and learning about dream boards and vision boards and positive affirmations. And this was completely anti-Peggy. So it was like something shook up in my universe, right about the time I changed careers, and then my mom, and then I started to look after my health a little bit pre-celiac. Then I was learning about nutrition and learning about positive thinking and all of that, and then celiac, and then my world kind of imploded for a little while.
Which is expected.
Yeah. But
so
not
then,
for me, right? No.
So then what happens? So you learn that you have celiac. Your focus really is your mom at this time, I'm assuming. And so then what happens? What happens now?
So I'm still trying to work, right? I'm self-employed, financial industry. So, you still have targets, you still have all of these things that have to be met. I was primary income earner as well. So that's going on. Plus, so that's kind of faltering. Okay, that's kind of taking a back burner, and it's kind of faltering a bit. So I start to feel really guilty about not being that A-type personality that I am, was really feeling defeated and weak. And then all of a sudden, oh, poor me, victimization set in. I felt like a victim. Why is this happening to me? World sucks. I've got this thing and my life has changed. And it is, my life has changed dramatically, and it forever was different. But I'm trying not to feel guilty at the same time, going, holy geez, I've got this that I can manage with food. And yet my mom is dying with liver disease and nothing I can do to help her, and all that. So all this stuff is happening. I'm feeling pretty depressed, and my depression manifests as anger.
Oh.
I get so think about, like, I can be pretty aggressive, and I'm very blunt, and I'm very upfront, but it manifests, I get mad much easier. So my poor husband at the time was getting a lot of the brunt of my anger. And I told him that I'm mad at the world. I was mad, things were unfair. And so I apologized. I'm pretty self-aware of this stuff. And I said, okay, what can I do? What do I need to be doing? So it all started all at the same time. All these people, they say, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, that old saying. So all of a sudden, I had someone suggest to me to try yoga. That was one thing. And I was the anti-yoga. I was the lift heavy stuff, CrossFit, check, angry girl. And I laughed at yoga. I was now the gluten-free, lactose intolerant girl who all of a sudden was now eating and learning about paleo and nutrition and ashwagandha and adaptogens and, you know, gut health and bone broth and that. And then at the same time, when yoga was happening, I was learning about you know, intentions and manifestation and the positive mindset even more. So everything that I was learning or had learned up until that year before was going, okay, that was there for a reason. I need to dig deeper into it. But it all happened at once, and I was like doing level 1 Reiki. I was doing aromatherapy courses. I had aromatherapy all through the house and diffusers. It was the yoga. It was the binaural beats in my
yes,
listening to the different megahertz at night. I took it all on at the one time. And I think I scared the shit out of my family. Like, my husband thought, like, I'm coming, come here, let me put my hands on you. He's been the most supportive, loving, like, he's amazing. He doesn't shut me down with anything. But he's like, babe, I don't know if you want to be a hippie or what's going on, but what's going on? And I was also, I think, trying to learn so much and absorb it and preach it. That was my mistake.
Okay.
You're trying to share it, but it can come across as preachy. So it when you say it's balance, it is all balance. So you can be too far one way, too far the other. But because I was so passionate about everything, it was just too much. So I had to then, okay. And then again, my work was suffering because I was trying to do all this other stuff and deal with my mom and all of those. So then I just kind of did an inventory of what was helping me and what was too much, where I wanted to focus my energy and my attention. And that's kind of where I went from there.
Yeah. So it was like a pendulum swing, you know, which happens. I think when we're questioning certain things and we're learning and we're starting to feel good, right? Because you were in that kind of depressed, angry state, and you start to be introduced to sort of positive things. You feel your energy changing. You get excited. You want to share it with the world, but sometimes the world isn't quite ready, you know? So yeah, that happens. I think that happens to a lot of people, to be honest. So the pendulum swing is now kind of back. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there was a little bit of time where it was like I wanted to do all the things, and And you realize then that it was just too much. So it's like all the self-help books and everything that we read, you cannot do everything in every book all the time.
That's right.
It's impossible. So you take the bits and pieces that resonate with you. And so that is what I did. I was like, okay, I'm dealing with all this stuff. How do I feel? How do I feel in my day? What do I get pushback from? And so I really loved vision boards. That's what I had started with. And the whole premise of vision boards but they've changed so much because I'm always adding and changing. I have like 4 Bristol boards, and the one that I did 3 years ago, maybe, yeah, 4 years ago, was all money motivated. It was all materialistic. It was big piles of money, and it was I think, was it a Maserati, or it was some really nice car, and it was the Michael Kors purse, and it was the trips, and it was all stuff, and it was my family in the middle of it, but it was all very monetary and very materialistic. And things were happening, were resonating and all of that, and they were manifesting, and I was thinking I just wanted to be successful, and I wanted to be financially secure and be able to support my family and those things. But after, when you start seeing the health effects of what's going on around you, and you realize that is the materialist is stuff. And so as you're growing internally and spiritually, you're realizing that it's not just the material stuff, and that all means nothing. So that changed. Flip the vision board over, and it's more yoga, because after I started doing yoga, I cried the first yoga class that I did. I did it personally with one-on-one with a yoga teacher in her studio, because I didn't know if I was going to like it or not, and whether it was the environment or what it did to my soul and the music and everything that was going. So I decided in that moment that I was going to do yoga teacher training, because I wanted to learn so much more, because it's 8 limbs of yoga and it's not just postures. So I did that all the time as my mom's still getting sicker and sicker. The boards are changing. Still wearing some essential oils, but I realized my husband cannot stand some of the scents, so we balance that out. So I still like my frankincense and my coconut oil, but other than that, leveled it on that. I still, if anything, gratitude and thankful affirmations are something that gets me through every day. I get a parking spot. Thank you for the parking spot. And I'm like pulling in. I just did a meeting that I had this morning. I wasn't sure how well it was going to go, because I had never met the client, and some of her emails were a little abrupt. And the meeting went really great. And so when I get in my car, I'm like, thank you for that awesome meeting. Just I give a lot of gratitude and thanks for everyday things. And that has helped me. It helped me deal with the process with my mom of talking about, because my mom was afraid of dying. She was a very Catholic woman, and she was very shy and very passive. So all of this, and me learning and about spirituality and universe, and trying to put it into context that was simple and easy for her to understand, helped me have those conversations with her that nobody else would have. And my mom passed away in July, sadly. So everything that I've done up until then helped me prepare for that. Even though I thought that I was ready, I'm still not. And so it's still helping me. But yeah, it's so all that stuff.
Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, and you don't realize at the time, but those little things along the way, I mean, you started to this started about 5 years ago, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, over 5 years you've grown, and maybe it was to prepare you for your mom's passing, right?
Mm-hmm. I believe it's when you look back, every person, at something that you're struggling with, and if you look at the steps that led up to that, or the other different problems that you had, or the things you had to overcome to get there, oh yeah, then you start to see all the connections. It was like just yoga in itself, and meditating and journaling. And my husband's going through some stuff right now too, physically. And a lot of the stretches that he had to do or yoga stretches.
Mm.
So when I was going through the therapy with him, and she's like, oh yeah, you have to do this and put your leg here. I go, well, yeah, okay, that's figure 4. That's this one. Like, oh, that's what I'm here to do. And I do that with them. And same with my mom. I was helping her talk about nutrition, and wellness, and same with my dad, because he's alone now, and trying to teach him how to eat better, and his mindset, and not to worry, and to think about things. And my husband's going through some health stuff right now too, that is preparing me for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Could be this, but am I prepared to still work, not being the Royal Ottawa myself, not be in bed all the time, and not weigh 500 pounds, because I tend to be a stress eater, so I yo-yo a lot. So I truly believe that things that happen have led you on a path to what you need to do.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. So what would be your, so obviously we're friends on Facebook, so I get to read the posts that you post often. And one of the things that I love about your posts is that you're not shy in sharing when you have a bad day, right? And so, you share this on Facebook, and I know there's lots of people that respond, but for the listeners, maybe share a little bit about that, like what you do,
Yeah.
what's the purpose of,
I love Facebook, and some people can say I like to share. I to me it's cathartic, and to me it's a way of it's like journaling, but if you have an audience or not, it's just, to me, there's too much fake in this world. For me, I'm very real. and some people can like it or not like it. They can be my friend, they can not be my friend. They can think that I admit I talk a lot, and I'm really blunt. I think life is funny. My life is really, I don't know, I think my life's funny. I think life in general is funny. So share it. Everybody needs a laugh in the day, and everybody needs to know that they can relate to other people, because I know it's not just me who's
totally.
going through stuff, right? So if I can say, oh my God, like this is what's happening with my life right now. Is anybody else going through this? It can't just be me. And that's what I hope to achieve. So at some point in my life, I'd love to talk to women, because I've gone through a lot of crap. Everybody has. So maybe if we can help each other get through it, it would be, we need to be more kind. We need to be more accepting and less judgmental. And so if we can help others get through this stuff, that's my goal. That's why I share what I share, or talk about all my stuff. That everybody's got a Jerry Springer show in their closet. Absolutely. Some just don't want to share it. I'm like, hey, share it.
Yeah, you put it out there, which is nice, because in social media you tend to only see the happy stuff, right? The happy smiles. You put a little a little comedy in your posts, so oftentimes we're laughing with you, but yeah.
Well, yeah, because to me, that we see everything through a filter these days, right? So from good old Instagram to Facebook, and these filters and the airbrushing, and people putting on these facades for the world, afraid to be judged, and afraid not to share their truth. If I can help someone be a little bit more outspoken, not to be an asshole, just to be, not to be rude or hurt people's feelings, but speak your truth, what you're going through, and maybe somebody will. I've never been one to ask for help. I've never been one to do that. So for me, I guess, by saying, look, I'm not invincible. I might come across as strong, and I think I'm pretty strong, but I have really horrible days, and I hurt, and I want to stay in bed some days, and I fight the sugar cravings, and I'm not perfect or invincible. I'm human, and we should all just help each other.
Yeah, no, for sure. And everybody is going through that same thing too, right? So
Hmm.
we should just share more of it, right? It's okay to crave the sugar. It's okay to want to stay in bed for a day or whatever. I think the key too is listening to your body and listening to what your body wants, and not holding it in. I think that's when we hold it in. That's when it comes out. Like when you did yoga the first time, you cried because there was some release happening. I've cried doing meditation. I've meditated and I've just bawled at one point. I'm like, why am I bawling? But just a
Hmm.
release and some healing that's happening.
Yeah.
So, share some. I know another thing you post on Facebook a lot too is the books that you read. You read a lot of
Oh
books.
yeah.
So, can you
I
maybe
read a
share a
lot.
few?
I read a lot, and I buy more than I read. That's what it says right now. I love thrift stores, and I love anywhere that I can get books. Absolutely, and so I've got a massive amount that I have not read yet, but I tend to read. So my reading for pleasure is also reading for knowledge. I don't. I've got a couple of comedic ones like Tina Fey that I want to read, and Amy Schumer. There's two that I got there because I love comedy, and kind of rough comedy. So I love Amy Schumer. But I read a lot, and I've got a lot. I'm actually going to a big seminar in Toronto tomorrow, Power of Success, with Rachel Hollis and Gary John Bishop and Tony Robbins. So that I've
Mm.
been reading a couple of their things to try and get a little bit of a background before I go. One of the books that really resonated with me this year was when I took yoga teacher training, The Alchemist by
Oh,
Paulo Coelho.
yes.
Okay, very simple book, but it's got like really core meanings about following your dreams, following your intuition, and what your heart truly wants. The universe is aspiring to give you. So that I really loved, and so that was part of my reading that I had to do in yoga, and I loved it. So that really resonated with me this year. And one that I'm currently reading, and I read stuff like The Girl Wash Your Face, and I really loved like You're a Badass, Jen Sincero. So all of those ones that have some profanity in them, they've got a little bit of some wittiness, some funny stuff. I resonate with those. I highlight. I've got highlight. So all my books are highlighted. I highlight things, but there's some things in who did I not in that Girl Wash Your Face. She's a little more religious in some of her stuff, and so again, you only take what you need out of it if you're not a religious person, and those things. So I love that. But this one I want to talk about because people might, if you've read lots of self-help books and you just love to read them, what's the reason we keep reading self-help books? It's like they say, if you have to spank your kid more than once, did the spanking work? No. So that's what they kind of say. So if you read self-help books, why do we keep reading them? Aren't we supposed to be helped? Right? We keep reading a new one and a new one. Why? So this book, it was called like F Feelings, kind of thing. It's by Michael Bennett, MD, and Sarah Bennett. One shrinks practical advice for managing all life's impossible problems. But I liked it because it just had profanity in the title, of course. But that was the first one. It was a thrift store find, so I didn't pay lots of money for it. But the gist of it is, we can sometimes become addicted to self-help books. You can sit back and you can read as many self-help books as you want, but if you don't put any of it into action, it's not going to happen. It's not magic. It's like your vision boards. It's like your affirmations. You can sit back and have all the affirmations in the world and read The Secret and read all your books and journal about how amazing your life is, because you have to visualize it, and thoughts become things and energy and all that. You don't get your ass off the couch. It's not going to happen, right? You have to put things into action to allow the energy and the universe and the momentum to happen. So this book says that. But here's one thing to think about. So in my manifestations, I'm using this as an example. I'm going to be an astronaut. I am an astronaut. I am a woman astronaut on the planet, whatever, and that's my motivation. That's what I am. 5 years from now, I've told myself that I'm an astronaut. For 5 years, I've written it and journaled it and visualized it and felt it and bought a suit and, did the exercises 10 years from now, you're not an astronaut, okay? What does that do for your self-esteem? Or what does that do for your idea of manifesting or your idea of that? I'm a failure. I wasn't doing it right. The universe just sucks and doesn't want me to do that. So I said, you can almost do too much of that. We do have limits.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, a lot of those books, what are some of the manifestations they tell you to say? I am limitless. I am boundless. I am unlimited. I have infinite abundance. Sorry, that's bullshit now. When you look at it, we don't all have infinite abundance. We don't. So we have to allow ourselves to say, you know what? I would love a limited abundance. I would love that. But if I only get 10 grand instead of 100 with this, whatever it is, thank you. That's amazing. You know what? Maybe that's just where things are right now. It's learning to accept that we do have limits, but how to cope with them when they happen. So that kind of threw me in a loop because it's counterproductive to some of the stuff that I've been learning, but it's true. Someone wants to lose 100 pounds, 50 pounds. They say, I am thin, I am skinny, I am the most, right? It only works if you put it into action. But we still might have limits. There might be things within our bodies that have limits, physical limitations, hardwiring that we can't undo, even though neuroscience and some of these neuroplasticity stuff says that we can rewire. Some stuff we can't rewire. Some of it is genetics and DNA and in that. And so that book that I'm reading now is kind of just saying, all right, you can hope for this. As an example, let me just show you one thing. It tells you how to do it. Like it's really so. Oh, okay, yeah. So it'll say, fighting the loser's curse. It'll give you a little thing about, here are the telltale signs that feeling better is not an option. And then it says, it'll tell you a quick diagnosis. Here's what you can aim for, but you'll never achieve. So it'll say that. Here's what you can wish for, but can't have. Some ability that doesn't suck. A friend or lover anytime before you die. Just one reason for confidence and optimism. Dream that might actually happen, or the ability to look in the mirror and back on your life without horror. Here's what you can aim for and actually achieve, it says. Do your best to survive. Act as if you like yourself, because not everybody can love themselves. Keep busy and distracted, and how you can do it. And then there's a script. Here's what to say to someone or yourself when you feel trapped, stuck, and totally below average. And so it's got a script that you can, deal with it. So it's just a little, it's very abrupt, but it's a good way to check yourself, because you can get too fluffy is what I like to say. And if you're walking around just, they say that whole fake it till you make it adage, or you have to live the life that you want, dress for the job that you want, remember all that stuff. It can be too much. So what happens when that doesn't happen? What happens when it doesn't manifest? What happens when it doesn't, that it's not a failure?
Right, because you're right. You have a point in that when we don't achieve it, then we feel like we failed, right? And that's the feeling that we don't want to feel, like guilt, shame, whatever that feeling is. That's at the bottom of the energy scale, right? So yeah, that's good point. So what would be so that's what you're reading now. So what would you say that was the most impactful book that you've read in the last 5 years? Where you had
the very first one was The Secret. It was the very first one. It's and for someone who, it was just learning about the law of attraction. That was, and I had always kind of had that little bit of inkling, when things are going good, create momentum and be thankful for them and keep thinking more positive thoughts and not dwelling on just the crap that's happening in your life, because more crap just puts you in a crappier mood and attracts more of it. So I kind of knew that, not that it was just a physical, okay, put yourself in this radio frequency and that
Right.
only good things will happen in that. No, you can't take things so literally, but I think you might when you first read stuff like that, you might take it really literally. And it isn't until you realize that, take bits and pieces of it, see what works for you, what feels for you, so that in itself, just the law of attraction, that changed my mindset. And I made my husband read it on a trip to Dominican because he'd come home in a really crappy mood and I'm like, don't bring more bad juju. That's what I used to tell him. You're going to ruin my juju. And so finally I made him read it and he got where I was coming from, and he does. He takes bits and pieces now from it and doesn't just look at me crazy. I'm not coming at him with my
Yeah, it's so much more. It's so much more than just what's in The Secret, right? But I always think, whatever you put out there, you're going to get back in. It's like a boomerang,
3 times
right?
over. I believe
Yeah.
the rule of 3.
Yeah, exactly. So just a few things before we end the podcast. If a listener was going through sort of what you went through in the last 5 years, what kind of tips would you suggest that they do? Like maybe, I don't know, 3 tips or whatever you have in terms of, getting back on track or getting more balanced or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Learning to say no and not giving a reason would be
Because
one
you don't
thing.
have to give a reason.
No, but we do.
I know.
It's like when we take a compliment, right? It's the same thing. So, but learning to say no, because for me and for many women particularly, we take it all on and we think it's how it should be. We think that we have to be all things to everybody and have all the answers. So one thing that I would say particularly is learning to say no, and not feel guilty about it and not have to give an explanation. So that would be one.
Mm-hmm.
The other one would be, try and make sure that you don't confuse self-care with just checking out on life for a bit. Because there's a completely different thing that's taking, you need a self-care day. I need to do this today, this for me, for my mental health day or whatever it is. But those can get milked. And you can talk yourself into those really easily. That I deserve to not be too stressed today because my mom just died. They'll understand if I don't go to this. They'll understand if I don't, so you kind of give yourself permission to check out of life for a while. And that is, you need to call yourself on your bullshit. So that is one other thing, is being more self-aware of, is this truly, I'm going to lose it if I don't take a break today? Or is it just that I'm avoiding life and don't want to deal with some hard stuff right now? There's completely, so that I caught myself on.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is if you have someone who really needs you and really depends on you, who's really sick, take the time to be with them, because you can't get that back. I was with my mom the last 6 days of her life, 24 hours a day in palliative care, and that was the best gift that she could have given me and that I could have given her, but it still doesn't feel like I gave her enough. So we can't go back and we can't change anything. So if you still have your parents, don't think of that stuff as a burden, even though they might be a pain in the ass, because someday they're not going to be here.
Yeah, that's a good one. Cool. Well, before we end, why not share, like, in the next year for you, what's happening in terms of, because I know you just got you're doing your yoga thing. So
yeah, that was just something for my own benefit, but I come to realize that I'm actually, I think, a pretty good teacher and I love to do it. So I think I'd like to just keep that in my repertoire, because if somebody can be an anti-yoga, A-type personality, financial advisor, uptight, and can completely, yoga for people who hate yoga. That would be my first one, right? So, but I love doing that, and I'm going to keep doing it. And it just attracts more of the clients that I want to deal with in my primary line of business. So in my financial advising, it's resonating, whether it's my energy that I'm putting out there or attracting, but it attracts like, and I really love to help clients that want to be helped. So I choose that. I want good energy with my clients. I want to have fun. I don't want to have crap. I mean, we still all have crap, but that is where I'm going. So I have been really in limbo the past 5 years, blatantly, just being complacent in my business, just getting by with my business. But I know that it's a means to allow me to still do my yoga, to write, to help people, to talk to people. So all of that's still meshing together, because it allows me to do that, and I hit different targets in different markets from both ends. So absolutely, I'm not retiring from my financial planning. That is my primary. But in the meantime, my yoga and my journaling and all of that is helping me stay sane with everything else that's going along. And I think my family sees that too. I'm having some better relationships, like with my sister, who we always were kind of opposites, and now she's realizing, I guess, that her older sister really isn't that anal and uptight all the time. so that's good. Relationship with my grandsons, I teach them yoga, they love it. We read and talk in nature. Like, I wasn't a nature girl before. Love to just go out in silence. So my next year is all about getting out of my funk, because I've kind of just been stagnant, and it's because my roles changed, right? When my mom died in July, all of a sudden my advocate role stopped. So something that I'd been doing for 5 years was now gone, and I deal with this every day. Grief hits in really weird ways, and for someone who is so thought I had everything together, no. And so dealing with that, so it's helping me. So I don't know what shape I'd be in if I hadn't progressed to this. So my mom battled depression a lot of her life. After her mom died when she was 38, and she never got over her mom dying, ever. And so I always thought, okay, well, how do I live my mom's how do I live a legacy for my mom? And that the best way is to live my best life and live the life that she can't have, because she's not here. She would just want me to be happy and to learn from her mistakes with my health, so that I don't repeat the things that she did in her life. If I can help prevent it, and love and be kind. And she was the most selfless woman I know. So if I can take some of those little tidbits of her and be the best version of me, well, then that's it. So if I can teach other women, get over judging each other, try and be a little kinder each day. We still get mad, just let it go. Get road rage, let it go. That's the thing. People just hold on to stuff too much.
Yeah, no, totally.
Still get mad. Positive people don't all just, fart unicorns and rainbows. We get mad, but you just let it go, right?
You let it go. Yeah. No grudges. Just let it go.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Peggy, for sharing your story.
No, thank you.
So I will, if people wanted to reach out to you, because did you speak at all? You said
No, I was going to do this. So remember I said about learning to say no?
Yes.
That was one of them.
Okay.
It was just, it was an event, but it was kind of a fundraiser, but it was in Cornwall. And it was just at a lot on my plate, and getting back into work and getting back into doing things, just a lot of priorities. And it just wasn't something that really spoke to me. So I had to back away from that. So yeah, but I
Yeah.
would like to do stuff like that, but I guess it's all when it's meant to happen, right?
When it's meant to be, exactly. When it resonates with you, right?
That's right. It just didn't. If you have to ask that question, to yourself, you go, is this something that I really, yeah, no, nope.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's it.
So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, they can find you obviously on Facebook, and are you
Yeah,
on Instagram?
that's right. Oh yeah, they just Google my name. They can track me down. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, good old website somewhere.
It's all everywhere.
It's not many Peggy Hodgins or Peggy MacGregor. Hodgins my maiden name, so Peggy MacGregor is what I'm under now, but it's MAC. They can
Okay,
track me down.
perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much and have a great day.
You too, Nicole. Thank you.